Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and kind of in the continuing saga of the screw extraction pliers, a lot of folks in the comment section mentioned that they use the locking pliers, or aka Vise grips, in order to extract screws or grab them and turn them. And there are some specific locking pliers designed as screw extractions. Here's two of them. This is Vamplier Jaws. It's like a standard sized one, nice big rounded. In fact, it's very similar to the Snap-on one, kind of in terms of the shape of the jaws. They're not flat, but these but the Vampliers have the screw extraction nose up front compared to, say, the Snap-ons, which is pretty much flush. Knipex here, those are also flush. And then the small one here is the Engineer. It's got a little more of a beak, and I really like these. I mean, the locking pliers, obviously the lock mechanism that you can tie something down and snap it shut and it stays shut is inevitable. You're going to need that. And for overlanding, or repairing things, they can just be that third hand. Or if you have two pair, now you got a fourth hand, for locking things in, holding it tight in different positions. So not only will you need them, but they're indispensable when you do need them. So this is a smaller tip. Now I like a lot of the smaller tip ones, a little more precision there. So here's a couple of them. Here's a Spanish-made Snap-on. They use kind of an odd design, I think. I wanted a really narrow one. This isn't as bad as some of the others, but Snap-on used to have kind of this folded steel with rivets that was notorious as being a bad design. This one, under a lot of pressure, probably is going to fail. That's what was going on, because this stuff just bends. But for the narrowness, that's what I wanted, being able to lock something in or grab it and become a handle on where there's not much clearance. That's why I have that. I've had this thing probably for 30 years, 40 years, this Craftsman USA made. Comes in pretty handy. I have a couple of these old ones. There's a small Vise grip. But as far as grabbing screws, I haven't had real good luck with this. One of the reasons is if you look at, say, this one here, the direction that you're turning is also the direction of basically the jimping there, the cutouts. So I'm not really gaining anything by having those, because as I rotate, say, around a screw head, basically all I'm doing is giving it a place to seat. I'm not running it in the opposite direction, which then would give me, purchase. Now, by the way, this one, I've had to do a little work on it. When I first got it, looks like they ground the tip as maybe the last step, to try to make those even out. And there was a great big burr on it. So it actually had to file it a little bit, and then just work it to get that burr out of there. But anyway, these are pretty good. For the smaller screws, these are good for the larger screws. Now, the smaller screws, one of the benefits of these I don't think you really need, and that's when you can grab a hold of something. First of all, if you've got plenty of extra space here, in other words, it's not clamping down, you can use them roughly like regular pliers, but they are a little bit harder to stay on because that's a fairly narrow, tiny jaw, whereas if I use these with a little bit bigger jaw, it's so much easier once you grab on to be able to stay on. So these are really designed for smaller screws. But if I put it on a smaller screw like this, and sometimes getting these things on is not as easy because there's more moving parts. So I usually get it to close, add a little bit, then pressure it on. Now, once you're on, see if I can get this one to grab without getting in the way of the camera. Once you're on and it stays on, I mean, that can be really handy, but as I start turning, first of all, it's off center and you don't want to, pop it loose. But a lot of times the benefit is that you can keep this on the screw and keep spinning. But because it's got such a small bite, it's usually on small screws. Whereas a screw like this, well, once I get this thing going, You know, usually you can see I'm grinding down some of it. This is a long screw. It's about 1 inch long. So, you know, if I have a longer one, longer screw, you know, that's where pliers like this can come in handy. However, if I go back to something like this, I'll use my snap-ons here, trying to grab a screw that's almost flush. Let's see if I can get that on there. Not the same thing. I was able to spin it, but it took a little bit of time. It's a 1 second job with the right tool, though, to be able to grab a hold of this. So these have their place, and they also have the added benefit that they certainly behave very well as locking pliers, even a locking precision plier. This, by the way, the Engineer PZ66, and this is the Vamplier. This is the VT 003 7 for 7 inches LP for locking plier, also known as the Jaws. Both of these are great. They have their place. If I had to have one, it would definitely be the standard conventional plier design, whether it's a slip joint or this multi plier. But these really do have added benefits if you want. Namely, they're also locking pliers. But if you're going to be doing things and spinning for a while, you know, and it isn't always screws that we need. You know, there's all kinds of stuff. If you can put up with the attachment, trying to keep them on, that one again is just the beaks are just too small to grab a screw this size. But once I've got it on there, I mean, this just really does short work of that. You can see it's on there really tight. So that's where these are great. So it's just another option. Not good, not bad, just different. Highly recommend them. And with that, Doc out.